A nation colored with culture and artistry, a people driven by tradition passed down from ancestors, a land with the steepest peaks, richest soil, and most mysterious regions. A mosaic painted with the brightest pigments of festivals, regalia, cuisine, and the supernatural. Part the fog and take a peek into the Kabuto society, as today we're taking a closer look at Project Exodus as we step into Walastan. Hello everybody, CJ here. As you guys heard in the intro, we are world building again and introducing a new region and people into the world of Exodus. The Kabuto's design is heavily inspired by the Japanese rhinoceros beetle. I really like how they look, and I thought that their horns would make for a really interesting shape, language, and silhouette in a character. The Kabuto's design underwent a handful of changes. The shell housing the wings in particular was a little bit of a challenge, but I think I found a pretty solid way of designing these beetle people. A beetle's anatomy is classified into three separate parts: the head, thorax, and abdomen. The shell covering the wings sit atop the abdomen. In the previous design of the Kabuto people, it shared a lot of the similarities to the source material, but when it came to the legs, they were just there. It looked out of place and weird in my opinion, so in the new design, I changed it up to make the proportions look more humanoid, and the shell containing the wings are on the back of the Kabuto instead of the lower body. This kind of creates the effect of a backpack. I like this a lot more because it gives the Kabuto a lot more mobility in the lower part of the body, and overall more mobility in general. Now that we brushed up on the Kabuto's design, let's talk about their society and way of living in Walastan. The Kabuto society consists of three factions: the agricultural faction, the marine faction, and the cuisine faction. The agricultural faction specializes in crop production and livestock. Their main crops include rice, cassava, corn, sweet potato, cabbages, shallots, mustard greens, sugar, coffee, palm oil, and palm kernels. Since rice is the main crop they produce, these Kabuto have an efficient way of harvesting their rice. Rice fish farming, a farming technique where farmers plant the rice in fields of water and breed fishes in that same water. In turn, the fish eat the insects off the crops, and the plants grow with the natural fertilizer from the fishes. This same technique is found all over Indonesia and was a heavy inspiration of mine, as you'll see later on. But it doesn't stop at crops. Their main livestock include chicken, ducks, and goats. In fact, in 2021, chicken population in Indonesia amounted to over 3 billion heads, making it its most popular livestock. Moving on though, their soil is the richest and most fertile in all the land of Exodus. This is the case because their land is also littered with active volcanoes. The ash from said volcanoes carry minerals, and as it falls on the soil, it makes it very nutritious for crops. The culture and lifestyle in this faction and region is heavily inspired by Indonesia and the geography, as I said before. Indonesians have a love-hate relationship with volcanoes because, like Exodus, the ash from the volcanoes carry minerals and makes the land fertile. Indonesia also holds the highest peak on any island in the world, called Puncak Jaya. Due to its rich nutrients, Indonesia has a high biodiversity. As you can see, Indonesia is a very adventurous place with volcanoes, towering mountain peaks, and dense tropical forests with rich soil. I thought that this was very interesting and inspired me to bring in a fantastical twist to it. Nightlights are sprites or fairies that grow in the ground as flowers in spring. They develop in the seed as the flower grows. When the flower reaches its highest bloom, it radiates a glowing light signifying its completion. When the flower is uprooted, the nightlight is freed and able to roam as it pleases. If the inhabitants, or in this case, the Kabuto, don't harvest these nightlights, the nightlight will wither away and run the surrounding area dry of any nutrients. At the end of the spring season is the blooming moon, where all the nightlights that were harvested gather and migrate to the highest peak of the island. The locals believe this night to be sacred because it's viewed as the nightlights closing the current season and blessing the land for a new, healthier harvesting season. The next faction is the marine faction. specializing in fishing, jewelry crafting, and textile creation. These kabuto live in a chain of islands connected with villages and towns built on stilts and suspended platforms above the water. Unlike the others, these kabuto have adapted to being underwater for longer periods of time, with a larger spleen to advocate for their longer breathholding, meaning that they can go deeper underwater than any other kabuto can. Due to this, they found extravagant and intricate seashells and pearls near the floor of their ocean. With this, they're able to craft beautiful jewelry and ornaments that are unique to this region. The marine faction is inspired by the Bajau people in the Philippines. The Bajau people are a semi-nomadic tribe that live on the sea. Traditionally, the Bajau people lived in houseboats called lepa-lepa or vintas. These houseboats served as their living spaces and transportation, allowing them to navigate the ocean freely. Though these houseboats served their purpose, it was a struggle to find food easily. Waking up the next day and not knowing if they're going to find food or not caused them to settle on coastal waters near the mainland of Tawi-Tawi. Although they settled, their nomadic lifestyle is still rooted in their identity. To be free is what it means to be Bajau. Even though the Bajau live on water, this does not mean that their connection to the land is cut off. The men from the tribe go out and catch fish and pearls, while the women go out on their boats to the mainland docks to sell their catch. The Bajau women also sell tepo, a colorful hand-woven mat made from dwarf pandan leaves that grow abundantly on the coasts of Tawi-Tawi. The Bajau also benefits from being connected to the mainland. Whatever they cannot find at sea, they go and buy it from the markets in Tawi-Tawi. Since the mainland was brought up, let's talk about Port Town. Port Town is a placeholder name for the time being, so don't get too attached. Moving on though, Port Town is a bustling city where the different factions congregate for seasonal fiestas, trading, and the Feast of New Year. The Feast of New Year is a festival celebrating all the different factions and their specialities. They all come together and rejoice in what they were able to produce in that year. The main event is the feast, where the cuisine faction cooks tons of dishes to finish off the year. The action of eating is done at midnight to represent the kabuto taking in lessons learned and absorbing good luck for the year to come. After the feast, the kabuto clean the dishes they use to represent a cleansing for the new year and washing off any ties to the past year. Other than the festivities, Port Town is home to countless kabuto, each with their own religions, practices, traditions, and superstitions. Before the video continues, I wanted to let you guys know that there's new listings in my store Emporium. Listings like Green with Greed and Patterns, which are traditional pieces that I did while I was in high school. I also sell stickers too. In fact, there's a new sticker in the shop right now called Emperor Penguins. This jumbo sticker could come in 4x4 or 5.5 by 5.5 inches. If stickers are not your thing, it also comes as a mini print. On the other hand, the paintings in this video are also up in the store Emporium. The paintings Foggy Days and Night Trade are also available as prints. But that's not all. Paintings in my previous world building videos are up in my store too. Illustrations like The Fang and Train Stop are available as prints. Emporium also includes paintings that some of you haven't seen before. So if you're curious and want to learn more, the link to my shop is in my channel bio. You can also find the link in the description as well. You can also visit my Instagram and portfolio for updates on paintings and illustrations that I'm working on. The link to those is also found in the description. Beyond the factions and city walls lie the Etho. Found in strange locations throughout Exodus, the Ethos are animated embodiments of their surrounding culture, landscape, customs, habits, and beliefs. They mirror their surroundings, and in turn, the reflection depicts how they think and act. These ethos are summoned with calling bells, small will-o-wisp that command the etho based on the form it took. The calling bells travel via ravens. The bird grab the bell and drop them off at where they're needed. Makes you think as to who's controlling these ravens. As you can see, the ethos have a cloud of mystery surrounding their nature. Including the etho in Project Exodus introduces an enigma that correlates with the physical world. This creates a sense of supernatural while still keeping it grounded to the events of Exodus. While these ethos are found throughout the world, they are far from common. Only found in specific time and settings, there's places in Exodus where they like to congregate. An example can be an etho regularly making an appearance in a specific swamp, or a forest that has been documented to have mysterious phenomena taking place. These hotspots have been labeled as wellsprings, or regions that regularly cross over with ethos. In Exodus, 2 regions are home to a good deal of wellsprings, along with the smaller scattered ones found in other regions. One of them is Walistan, home of the Kabuto. The cuisine and agricultural faction in particular hold the majority wellsprings found in Walistan. These Kabuto have become accustomed to living with these ethos, so much in fact that they're able to roam the wellsprings freely without bothering the etho. The agricultural faction places a small portion of rice on the ground to grant them safe passage. The cuisine faction, on the other hand, simply say "Sindui," which translates to "excuse me," to grant them safe passage. Sorry if I butchered that pronunciation completely. It's Vietnamese, if you guys were wondering. And obviously I'm not Vietnamese, so yeah. Talking about the cuisine faction, they specialize in the art of cooking and medicine. The food they cook has the properties to restore your inner balance. Some food can even heal sickness and fatigue. This happens because the herbs that grow in the land have the properties of healing your body if they're cooked correctly. The most common way of preparing these herbs is in the form of tea. Some can be green tea, oolong tea, lotus tea, jasmine tea, and matcha tea. For all that, the true shining star of the food cooked here are the hands that made it. The recipes found here have been passed down from generation to generation. Familial history and traditions is a key ingredient in their dishes. You can walk the streets here with the aroma of food and smoke in the air. Countless street stalls cooking the same dish, yet each plate will be tasting differently from the next. Since the land is so close to Port Town, a lot of the Kabuto from this faction station themselves there. They buy their ingredients and produce freshly from the market. The marine and agricultural factions sell their fish and crops there. As you can see, the 3 different factions all benefit from each other, and while they have their differences in traditions, they come together to help one another and celebrate each one's accomplishments. The culture of the cuisine faction is heavily inspired by Vietnam and their geography. Their island has mountains on one side and an ocean on the other, making their food very diverse. Vietnamese food isn't cooked with oil. Instead, they use a lot of fresh ingredients, creating very light and healthy foods with a lot of flavors. Vietnamese food brings people together and is a main factor within their families and culture. Another part of Vietnam that inspires me is Hanoi, the capital city where the streets are lined with brightly colored lanterns, buildings squished together, trees growing through the sidewalks, cables traveling overhead from building to building, and the roads lined with small restaurants, market stalls, and street food. Walking through the city with the smell of smoke in the air as people gather up in front of their favorite street vendor. Motorbikes pass by as you wait for your food to be done, sitting on plastic stools with your friends in this familial atmosphere. This ambiance is the most perfect mood I want to achieve in Port Town, and more importantly, the cuisine faction. In conclusion, there's still a lot more that I would want to talk about in Walistan, especially Port Town, but I want to save that for another video. There, we'll take a deep dive into the capital city and growing trade kingdom of Walistan. guys so much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoy, and if you want to see more of me, I have a link tree that is found in my channel bio that'll take you to all the places that I'm on. I have a portfolio which you can see my art in with more depth into it, and I also have a store that is all found in my link tree. So if you want to support me, the store is where to do it. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye!